So dear children, we in last video we have seen the animation of Anne Frank. So now we are going to start with the chapter explanation, in which you will find the Anne Frank's attachment with her fountain pen, how she got it, from whom she got, and how many years till she used that. And there is one climax also, there is a twist also about the fountain pen. So you will know it at the end of the chapter. So let us start the chapter explanation. So now dear children, we will start with the diary written by Anne Frank. This is one of the chapters from her book. She has written so many different chapters in her diary. So here we have a chapter, Ode to My Fountain Pen in Memoriam. So you must know the meaning of ode and memoriam before we start the chapter. These two words are new, right? So ode means a kind of poem, or let's say a literary piece where the poet or poetess expresses their emotions or feelings. And in memoriam means in memory of. All right. Well, the diary actually it starts with some basic introduction about Anne Frank that we already have discussed. So we will start with the diary. So the diary starts with the date, Thursday, day, year, month. Okay, it shows the timings when it was written, and this is the one of the thing which we have to keep in mind while writing diary, that this format should be followed. We have to write day on which we have written, and we also have to write the date and month and year when it was written, so that whenever it is written by whenever it is read by other readers later in future, so they can just know, and even we also can go back and read it. The writer also can go back and read about the memories they had shared with the diary. So this is the importance why we have to write the day, date, month, year all before the diary starts. And then after we can see here, on Thursday she has written this, and in the month of November on 11th date in 1943. This was the time period of Second World War, as we all know. First World War was done between 1914 to 1918, and the Second World War started in 1939 and it lasted till 1945. So here she has written in 1943. So we can clearly say that she has written it during the time of World War, when she was keeping herself with her hidden with her family, and almost Nazi forces they were trying to catch all the Jewish people. So at that time, on her 13th birthday, when she was given a diary as a present, she has started writing all the things. So let's go. Dear Kitty. She is addressing diary as Kitty. Actually, she is imagining someone as Kitty, and to that person she is sharing all these things. We also have to write Dear Diary in the beginning. We have to address diary as Dear Diary first, and then we have to share all our emotions. We have to share with diary. So she is saying, Dearest Kitty, I have a good title for this chapter, Ode to My Fountain Pen in Memoriam. My fountain pen was always one of my most prized possessions. Small children have the treasures in their school bag, right? All the treasures they are having is like their toys, their study materials, and their piggy bank. All these are kind of their treasures. So the same way, Anne is saying that the pen was my one of my most prized possessions. That means she must have won it in some competition, and she would have been given it as a prize. She says, I value it very highly, especially because it had a thick nib, and I can only write neatly with thick nibs. You also might be comfortable with some particular company's pen or particular kind of pencils, right? So she was also comfortable with the thick nib while using the fountain pens. So she's saying that it has led a long and interesting fountain pen life, which I will summarize below. So, till now, she has given us the introduction that what she is going to talk about in this diary chapter. When I was 9, my fountain pen, which was packed in cotton, arrived as a sample of no commercial value, all the way from Atten, where my grandmother, the kindly donor, used to live. So Anne's grandmother was living there, and she must have sent it to Anne as a prize. So earlier we were assuming that she might have won it, but she has not won. But her grandmother living in Aachen had sent it as a gift to her. Here, the word Aachen is new for you, so let me tell you. It is the name of this city, which was at the border of Germany with Belgium and Netherlands. So it was a very nice fountain pen, and it was the dearest pen to the Anne, and it was presented to her by her grandmother. It was packed in the cotton, and very carefully it was wrapped and packed, and then it was sent to Anne. So now when she gets the fountain pen at that time, what was her condition? So grandma lives in Aachen, and from there she is sending this. So at that time when she gets the pen, she says, I lay in bed with the flu while the February winds howled around the apartment house. So at that time she was suffering from the disease flu. Flu is kind of a disease in which we have a common cold and cough and all these things. There are so many kinds of flu. So at that time, it was the month of February, when everywhere she's using the words winds hold. Hold actually is the word which we use for negativity, for someone's crying. So this splendid fountain pen came in a red leather case. She is describing the thing which we are too much attached. We just want to describe it. We like the way it is kept, and I showed it to my girlfriends the first chance I got. So, and we also, when we get some new thing, so we also show it to our friends. Okay, so same way Anne also shows it to her friends. And she shares her happiness with the few of the girls who were her friends. Here the word girl friends is used, so means we have both friends, boys and girls. So here the friends whom she had shown the fountain pen, they all were girls, and she is using the word that they got the chance to see it. See, and I got the chance to receive it. Me and Frank, the proud honor of a fountain pen. She was possessing this. She was the proud honor. You know, you don't have this kind of pen. I am having. Look at it. She was just thinking like that. Now let's go ahead. She says that I am the proud owner of this fountain pen, and when she was 10 years old, she says I was allowed to take the pen to school, and to my surprise, the teacher even let me write with it. Generally, it happens that when you buy some costly pen and when you bring it to school, the teachers do not allow you to keep this all things. Why? Because it may be stolen sometimes, or it may be someone may take it from you. So all these responsibilities are of school, and the other thing is that your attention is divided in all these things. Your attention must be they are in studies. Whereas if you will bring all this such kind of things which is very uncommon, so not only your attention but the other people's attention also would be divided into it. Teachers always say that you do not have to keep any valuables with you. So this was the reason for this. So this way she is expressing her emotions, and this is what we have to do in the diary. Whatever we feel, we have to express it without keeping any hesitation in our mind, because one of the objective behind writing diary is also to keep ourselves mentally very light. If we have some emotions, whether it is positive or negative, whether it is of happiness or related to sadness, but once when we express it, we feel little bit relaxed. Okay, so this is a kind of uh, medium through which we can keep ourselves mentally relieved. So here the thing is reverse. Anne's teacher is not scolding her, or she is not refusing to use that pen. So now she is happy. When I was 11, however, my treasure had to be tucked away again, because my sixth grade teacher allowed us to use only school pens and ink pots. So her sixth standard teacher would be little bit strict, so she did not allow her to use that pen in school. She said that you have to use the pens and ink pots which is provided from school. So all the students would be having the equal pens. So no one's attention would be diverted from the studies due to it. Now let's start with the next page. When I was 12, I started at the Jewish Lyceum, and my fountain pen was given a new case in honor of the occasion. Now, actually, this is the time when uh, Jewish children were separated from the other children from school, and they were compelled to learn in the Jewish school only. So at this time, one good thing was that for little Anne, that she was using a fountain pen, and for that she got the new case for it. So not only did it have room for a pencil, it also had a zipper. I mean, how now she is describing what kind of case it was. Along with the uh, fountain pen, she could also keep pencil also there. It had space for pencil also. It also had a zipper which was much more impressive. Means it had a zip or chain as you have in your pouch. And when I was 13, the fountain pen went with me to the annex. Now she is personifying the object. It is a non-living thing. Pen is not a living thing, but she is taking very much care of her pen, and she is too much attached emotionally to it, that she is saying that when I went to annex, I took it with her. Instead, she is saying that it came with me. So this way she is personifying the pen here. And the word annex is new here again. So annex, as we had discussed before the chapter started, that annex is the place, secret hiding place for the Anne and her family. They had to keep themselves hidden from the Nazis. So this is the place for which the word annex is used.
But the secret annex is actually a separate building in a way. It just has a kind of breezeway between the two buildings. The entrance into the secret annex starts as you go up this staircase that leads to the second floor. Then, at the end of the hallway, you go through this door which leads you into the breezeway between the two buildings. This is the movable bookcase that leads you into the secret annex. Now, if you move the bookcase and go through this door, then you are met with 3 places that you could turn. To the left, this is where the Franks live and sit during each day. And then to the right there's the WC, or the bathroom. We will start off by going to the Frank's room. So if we go through this door, this is the room where Mrs. and Mr. Frank sleep, as well as where the Frank family sits during the quiet portion of the day. Now if we go into this door over here, we will be led into Anne's room, which she also shared with Mr. Dussel. Here you can see Mr. Dussel's bed. And this is Anne's bed, which has all of her celebrities above it on the wall. This is Anne's desk, and sitting on it is the famous diary. Now, if we go through these doors, we will be in the bathroom, or WC. This bathroom consists of a toilet, sink, mirror, and down in the corner you can see there is a washboard for washing clothes. Now, if we exit out this door, we will be back in the main entrance of the annex. If we go up to this staircase, we will be brought to the Vandals' living quarters. This is where Peter and Mrs. and Mr. Vandal lived, and where both families ate and hung out. In the corner here you can see Mrs. Vandal's fur coat. Now if we enter this kind of hidden door, we will be in Peter's room, which is more like a landing on the way up to the attic. Anne gave Peter some of her celebrities to put on the wall to make it feel more like a room. If we go up this ladder, we will enter the attic. This is where Anne would come occasionally and look through the window at the trees outside, and she would dream of the day that she would be set free. This is pretty much it as far as the annex goes. It was a pretty small space, but they made do with what they had. This is it for the tour of the annex. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for coming along.
And together we have raced through countless diaries and compositions. And together with means with whom? With Pan. Both Anne and Pan, they both have together written so many diaries and compositions. So here the pronoun we is used for both Anne and her Pan. Now ahead she is saying, I had turned 14 and my fountain pen was enjoying the last year of its life with me when it was just after 5 on Friday afternoon. Now she is, as I said you that she is very much attached to it, that she is describing the Pan's life, that now she is going to die. It is the Pan's last year to live. So let us see why and how this happens. I came out of my room and was about to sit down at the table to write when I was roughly pushed to one side to make room for Margaret and father, who wanted to practice their Latin. So what happens when she was planning to sit on the table and write a diary with her favorite pen, she was roughly pushed by her sister Margaret and her father. They also wanted to sit there on the table and practice their Latin language. So now she is saying that the fountain pen remained unused on the table because she could not sit, while its owner, sighing means आहें भरता हुआ, expressing sadness, was forced to make do with a very tiny corner of the table where she began rubbing the bins. So now she has to manage with the little space on the table where she began rubbing beans. uh, why should she rub the beans? Because there is a mold on the organic vegetables and all these things. So if we rub it, the fungi would be removed. So she was doing that by sitting on the table. Because in that small space she could not sit and write comfortably, so she is doing this, and she says ahead, that's how we remove mold from the bins and restore them to their original state. At a 5:45 I swept the floor. After rubbing all the mold from the bins, she cleaned the floor, because some of the uh, bins might be uh, scattered on the floor also, so she had to sweep it after the work is done. So she said that I swept the floor, dumped the dirt into a newspaper along with the rotten beans, and tossed it into the stove. So in the village, people they just burn all these organic extra things into the stove which is made up of three bricks. You must have seen the laborers cooking on that. Now let's see what happens. Actually she had thrown the rotten beans and the paper. Okay, but what happens now, let us see. A giant flame shot up, and I thought it was wonderful that the stove, which had been gasping its last breath, had made such a miraculous recovery. That means as soon as she throws the paper with rotten beans inside the stove which is made up of bricks, which I said you, so it shot up, means the flame became big, and the stove was actually gasping, means it was taking its last breath, and all was quiet again. The Latin students had left. Who were the Latin students? Yes, Margaret, her sister, and her father. And I sat down at the table to pick up where I had left off, means where she had stopped writing. She just started writing from there. So now she sits on the table as the Anne's father and her sister had left. Now see the turning point. Actually she was being happy that when I throw the paper and this rotten beans into the stove, it just shot up with the big flame, and it has like been the recovery of the gasping stove. But what happens now, let us see. But no matter where I looked, my fountain pen was nowhere in sight. इधर उधर सब जगह देख लिया, but she could not see her fountain pen. So where it might have gone? Yes, it has gone into the stove. Let's see ahead. I took another look. She again looked for it, searched for it. Margaret looked, mother looked, father looked, Dussel looked, but it had vanished. Dashel was one of the members living in an annex at a secret hiding place. So everyone just searched for the pan, but no one could find it. It had been disappeared. Maybe it fell in the stove along with the bins, Margaret suggested. So what happens? Her sister Margaret had a strike. She thought that might be when you threw all the rotten beans in the stove at that time, it might have fallen into the stove along with the beans. So she was not in a condition to accept these things. She said, no, it couldn't have. I replied, I means Anne Frank. But that evening, when my fountain pen still hadn't turned up, we all assumed it had been burned, especially because celluloid is highly inflammable, Okay, cellulose can be burnt easily. So the pen was made up of the celluloid. So all of them assume that now it may have been melted in the stove along with the uh, paper. So she also, her darkest fear were confirmed the next day when father went to empty the stove and discovered the clip used to fasten it to a pocket among the ashes. So ashes means राख जो जल जाता है और बीच पाउडरी फॉर्म में जो बच जाता है वो. So her father, when he went to the stove to clear it out, so when he was just clearing it, he could find the clip, with which we just put the pen inside the pocket. So that clip was just there, but the pen was not there. So they all got the confirmation that now my pen has been melted, it has been burnt into the stove, because now we are left with the nib, this clip only. Not a trace of the gold nib was left. It must have melted into stone, father conjectured. Conjectured means guessed, अनुमान लगाया कि कुछ नहीं बचा होगा अभी. It must have melted. It was of golden, means it was not made up of golden, it was not made up of gold, but it was of golden color. So after all, she had to accept the reality, and she said, I am left with one consolation, small though it may be. My fountain pen was cremated just as I would like to be someday. Means we, the human beings, after the death, we just burn the bodies, and it is what called cremation. So she is taking one consolation, अपने आप को एक दिलासा दिला रही है कि it's okay, as my pen is no more now, it is not living, she has died. But see the honor which we give to the pen, like human beings dead body, we also put it to the cremation. So this way she is just now convincing herself, and this was her all experience, her attachment to the pen. She has shared with us in the form of diary. So you also can share your personal emotions, feelings in your diaries, and at the end she has written yours, Annie. So we also have to write our name, only our name, no need to write surname and anything. We just write our name at the end of the diary. So here we end our chapter, Ode to My Fountain Pen in Memoriam. So dear children, did you enjoy the chapter? Especially I liked it too much. When we talked about World War II and how the Jewish people hid themselves, and all these things were actually interesting. Though it was painful, but it was new for us to know that how the families were treated. So the experience of Anne Frank's diary, her fountain pen, that also was too good. One more thing I would like to suggest you, that you go through the web page every day, and you keep yourself updated with using Google Classroom also, where you will be notified whatever is uploaded on our web page. You will get notification in Google Classroom. So do keep in touch with the web page and Google Classroom. Thank you. In our next video we will start with the exercise solution. Till then, take care of yourself.